Congressman Lacy Clay, your district includes St. Louis. You spent 2 decades in the House of Representatives, Democrat from Missouri. Do you remember what you were thinking when you first entered the halls of Congress as a freshman member of the House?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I realized that after having served 17 years in the Missouri state legislature, I realized that I was being promoted to the major leagues, and so I was, of course, enamored. But it was like a homecoming to me because I had worked there during college for 7 years in the office of the doorkeeper, which no longer exists, but I was a doorman on the House floor. And um, through my training as a doorman, studying the picture book, getting to know members by name, face, and state, it helped me when I got there as a freshman member.
And of course, you viewed the House through a very different prism because your dad was a member.
Yeah. My dad, when my dad was sworn in 1969, I was 12 years old, and I remember being on the House floor with him and my younger sister. And when he stood up to raise his hand to take the oath of office, we stood up with him and raised our hands too. Uh, and it was kind of like uh, when my dad was able to be on the floor of the house when I was sworn in 2001, and very touching moment for the family.
I want to talk about Congress as an institution and what we're seeing today, because a lot of concern in terms of what Congress may or may not be doing under this president. We have Article 1 of the Constitution. We have three separate but equal branches of government. Are you concerned in any way about how Congress is or isn't doing its job today?
I think about coming here as a freshman member in 2001 and how congenial it was and how different it was because members had a tendency then to try to meet in the middle, to find common ground, to get to yes
Why is that
on
so
an
hard
issue.
today?
I think it has a lot to do with the generational change, a lot to do with social media, and a lot to do with the divisiveness of our politics today, and how each side is so rigid, how they dig in their heels, and their base also forces them to not compromise, and that is frowned upon. I remember in my last couple of terms in Congress, I was viewed as a too much of a business friendly Democrat. But I knew the importance of having relationships with businesses because those are the job creators. Those are the people that bring economic development to my district in particular. And so I always maintained the relationship with those people. Was the moniker correct? Probably, but that's who I was.
So if Lacy Clay wants to buck his own party as a member of Congress, how difficult was that for you? And is it even more difficult today?
Even back in 2006, there was an issue on the estate tax, and philosophically, I disagreed with the estate tax because I viewed it as a double or triple taxation on what people had earned over their lifetime.
The so-called death tax.
Yes, the death tax, and back then Speaker Pelosi was very opposed to a change in that, and so we went round and round, and I eventually voted my conscience on it. But it wasn't easy, and I can imagine now what members go through from leadership and what kind of pressure is put on them, as well as what kind of external pressure is put on members through social media by their constituents and others.
As we talk to former members, that's been one of the common themes. How do you balance the needs of your constituent and your next election versus the conscience of a member like yourself?
Yeah, it's difficult. I was always considered a pro-choice member of Congress, and one issue arose that I split with the pro-choice community on, and that was there was a vote coming on amendment to require that a abortion center when a minor crosses state lines to get an abortion, that they have parental consent. And at the time, I had a 14-year-old daughter who I had to put myself in that situation as a parent. And I voted against the pro-choice position. And of course, uh, I mean, some in the pro-choice community didn't like it, but I could explain my vote and live with it.
You talk about the polarization in this town. How bad is it today?
It's the worst I've ever witnessed, and a lot of it has to do that with um, members not having a personal relationship with each other. They pick their sides, and they are dug in on their sides, even in state delegations. Uh, some members don't know each other's names, which I find extraordinary. I made it a point to to seek out those in my delegation and those who I served on the committee with, to find common ground. That we all have commonalities that we need to seek out, and that would help in today's environment here if they could just establish a relationship, a working relationship, or even a friendship. I think it would make all the difference in this town.
We're talking to Congressman Lacy Clay, spending 2 decades in the House of Representatives. The incentive to cross the aisle has got to be there. And one of the problems we have today, congressional districts that are drawn in such a way that create a primary challenge of greater concern than a general election challenge. How do you address that?
Huh. I'm
And you're smiling.
yeah, because I'm guilty of that too, and all of it emanates from incumbency. Incumbents want to protect their turf, and which makes these districts less competitive in general elections. And like you said, the real challenge is for the incumbents or the primaries. Uh, and I'm a victim of it too because it eventually caught up with me. I lost my primary in 2020, but life goes on too. Um, Redistricting, I don't know what is the best method to make it more competitive in general elections. That you're still going to have that politics involved, no matter whether it's independent commission or whether it's the state legislature.
The other factor, you mentioned this, social media,
Yeah.
partisan media. How does that play into how Congress works as an institution today?
Oh, it has a uh, a overriding impact on how members vote, how they conduct themselves, and I mean, some members are motivated by how many hits they get, how many views they get, and followers they have. Uh, and I think it's played a detrimental role in how members conduct themselves and how they interact with each other.
So you mentioned your primary challenge back in 2020. Has that pushed the parties too far to the left for the Democrats and too far to the right for the Republicans?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's like the squeaky wheel theory. Those who scream the loudest get most of the attention. But as the Democrats witnessed in the 2024 presidential election, um, we have, as a party, have gone off the rails by catering to a smaller and smaller a segment of our party.
How much time did you spend back in the district meeting with constituents and also with special interest groups?
Oh, I was there at least every other weekend. What the general public doesn't realize is that you have to maintain two homes when you are a member of Congress. You have to have a place to live here unless you live in your office, and you have to maintain a residence in your home district. So, you know, every other weekend I was on a plane, sometimes every weekend in a month. But you have to pretty much live out of a suitcase and on a plane every week. And for 20 years, I did that. Um, and I'll be honest with you, the last couple of years, I stopped liking what I was doing.
Why?
Probably because of the influence of social media. You know, my staff would have to address all of these issues on social media. Uh, I I would occasionally look at it to get a feel of what the public was saying, and most of it was from outside of the district. But the influencers back then had a oversized influence on the public.
Is there a way to fix the money in politics problem? Because it is a huge problem.
It is a huge problem, but remember this: each side relies on money, and whether it's with the extreme left because they raise huge sums of money and then they target one or two members, or it's the extreme right who draw from a lot from business and some online. Um, and as you know, the Supreme Court has said that money is speech, and so I don't know how you take money out of it. Even those on the left who raise money online have to come up with significant sums of money to defend or to unseat.
So if you could take Congress holistically, every 2 years you're up for reelection, the committee process, the calendar schedule, the workload itself, if you could make changes to the institution, what would they be?
Huh. I, I I guess you would have to start with the length of a term, and that would probably be go from 2 years to 4 years. Because think about it now, after you finish an election, you go right back to fundraising, and that was one of the aspects of the job that I did not like. Call time, um, raising of the money, always having your hand out. I thought my hand was like a clutch, because I was always begging for money, and that's what it takes to be successful in public office now. To get your message out.
So when you talk to your constituents about this,
Mhm.
do they care? Are they worried? Are they concerned? Or is it just part of politics today? The amount of money that we're seeing and the lack of comedy, COMITY, in
Mhm.
Congress.
I think they are concerned. I think the general public is concerned, but somehow um, the public and the elected official have gotten away from um, that interpersonal exchange. Uh, the public may, doesn't seem to realize what the responsibilities are of a member of Congress. Um, and then the public is turned off by what they see. Um, and so it makes for a toxic environment uh, for a member of Congress.
You use the word responsibility, and Congress does have a responsibility, the power of
Mm,
the purse. It is
yeah.
Article 1 of the Constitution.
Mhm.
Is Congress usurping its responsibilities today in this Congress with this president?
It appears that way, and here's why. Because I mean, I've never seen the Senate nor the House surrender their responsibility to actually uh, make policy through appropriations. And now you're seeing this in real time. Uh, uh, the closure of certain agencies, the downsizing of government, that was always Congress's responsibility through the power of the purse. And you're not seeing that now. You pretty much the leadership of the House and the Senate has pretty much surrendered that responsibility to the executive branch.
So, your message to your former colleagues is what?
Is to buck up and understand who you are and what your job is, and that is to appropriate in order to maintain government.
Lacy Clay, Democrat from St. Louis. Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you for having